There wasn't anybody really pushing the boundaries of rock.
Then, 5 English lads set out to set rock straight.
We could really kick rock music up the ass.
We weren't going to settle for second best. An album is for life.
Nothing was going to stop that record.
Def Leppard sold its soul to a devil for detail.
He knew what he wanted. He knew how to get it.
More saying, look, you can do it better.
I really don't want to do this. It's insane.
You do that one more time and you're out.
I was having a breakdown.
I just bawled my eyes out. I can't see.
After the smoke had cleared, they'd forged a pop metal masterpiece that resuscitated good time rock and roll.
Wow, that's it.
When this record came out, it was just like, whoa.
A zillion voices. They just slammed it home.
They definitely raised the bar.
That was the British invasion for me.
Pyromania is like rock and roll 101. Had a big impact on my life.
It has to play some kind of role on our music.
There's 5 major hits on it that you'll still hear today.
It still holds up. You could still blast it.
I always have a copy of it in my collection.
Def Leppard's Pyromania is an ultimate album.
It's great music, and great music lives and lasts forever.
Def Leppard's Pyromania took hold in 1983 and forever altered the landscape of rock music.
I don't know anybody that could put that record on and not just go, this is a killer record. They definitely raised the bar.
If people look back in time to the importance of some of these great records like Led Zeppelin 2 or the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's, that Def Leppard's Pyromania record will be there on the top 10 list.
In the early 80s, mainstream radio was adrift. Rock fans were looking for a band to call their own. Punk was too pissed off and elitist. Metal's fetish for the occult kept it well underground. And new wave smacked more of a fleeting fashion than a true music movement. Fans of pure rock had been abandoned.
Albums in 1982 pretty much sounded like American rock albums from 1977. There wasn't anybody really pushing the boundaries of rock.
All the audiences were fragmented as far as what they liked. They had their favorite brand of music, and they didn't want to lean too far and try anything else or experience anything else. They just wanted to support their own little area.
The record industry had bottomed out, way out. The U.S. economy sunk deep into recession. Spare change went to dinner tables, not turntables.
It was pre-CD. It was really almost hair metal. You had this funny time when a lot was happening, but nothing exploding.
Then, in early '83, came a feel-good record rock fans could rally around. Pyromania.
We wanted to try and make it a little bit more accessible to people that wouldn't necessarily buy Black Sabbath albums.
It certainly was able to bridge the gap between the really hard metal people and also the traditional rockers that were afraid to really lean that far because it was so commercial, it was so pleasant, and yet at the same time, it was really rocking.
You can be riding on the road. This may not even be your kind of band, but you're riding on the road and the music comes on, and you find yourself, like I said, going, fool, you know.
Nearly 2 decades and 10 million copies later, Pyromania's melodic riffage still resonates in the music of bands like Incubus, Lit, and System of a Down.
Why don't think you trust in my self-righteous suicide?
Pyromania was definitely my first stage experience, except there was nobody there in my living room. It was a big part of my childhood, so it has to play some kind of role on our music.
Pyromania is like rock and roll 101. It sounds like a well-produced garage band to me, which is, what we always go for. If you listen to our album Atomic, the intro to the record, we just basically ripped off Die Hard the Hunter by Pyromania. When I listen to Pyromania now, I'm like, I knew he sort of lifted that.
Def Leppard was a band of unlikely heroes from the rusted-out steel town of Sheffield, England. Working class kids that stumbled into rock and roll history while making a mad dash from a grim existence.
They came from nothing, and I really do mean nothing. They came of like industrial Sheffield, and they wanted to go to America.
We were all factory workers by force, not by choice. It's what you did if you came from Sheffield. You went to work in a factory. I just didn't want to do it till I was 65.
England's industrial north had a great tradition of forging quality metal acts. Blue-collar northerners proudly claimed Iron Maiden and Judas Priest as their own. Sheffield had no such love for Leppard. A hometown critic once called the band the worst group ever to have graced this city with its presence. Not surprisingly, Leppard wanted out.
They wanted something more for themselves, and they were willing to work really hard to get it.
It was better than working for British Rail, installing car radios, driving a taxi, which is what some of their fathers had been doing.
By 1982, their first two albums had sold a combined 500,000 copies, yet they still had to hold down day jobs. Between stints on the road with high-decibel heavyweights like AC/DC and Judas Priest, singer Joe Elliott passed his days hauling bricks and mortar.
Peter and Cliff, who were managing by then, said, "We can't afford wages, there's no money." And I had to go and work on a building site. Having had a top 20 album in England and a top 50 album almost in America, the first one. I'm on a building site.
I'm sorry, but it's true. You're bringing on the heartache, taking on the best of me. Oh, can't you see?
The band believed their third album would be their final chance to escape from Sheffield's smokestack wasteland. A one-album leap from Steeltown to Platinumville was a long shot. To hedge their bet, they recruited songwriter turned Midas Touch producer Robert John Lang, the man they called Mutt.
This guy was the best producer on the planet. Mutt Lange records always stand up. They're just, they're classics.
Mutt was one of the most sought-after rock producers on earth. He had powered Foreigner's 4 up the Billboard charts and charged AC/DC's Back in Black into rock history. And while he routinely thrusted acts into the limelight, the man himself was, and remains today, maniacally obsessive about his own privacy. He's harder to capture on film than the Loch Ness Monster.
He does his job in the studio, and when the album's finished, that's as far as it goes with it. The band go out and do all the TV exposure and do all the shows, and he just stays in the studio, and that's the way he likes it, you've got to respect that.
Though Leppard's second album, High and Dry, pushed a relatively paltry 250,000 copies, Mutt believed in Leppard. He thought they could even unseat the mighty AC/DC, if properly guided.
Mutt, I think, looked at Def Leppard like a painter looks at, not quite a blank canvas, but I guess a canvas full of manipulatives that we could just do whatever he wanted with. And
he knew something that we didn't at the time, and he impressed that upon us.
Mutt comes in with this idea. We could really kick the rock music up the ass and give it a real breath of fresh air.
We became sort of followers for a while.
In January of '82, Leppard cut a deal with Lang. He'd get them out of Sheffield if they gave him absolute power.
We put ourselves in Mutt's hands. We didn't know how to get to the other end. And I don't even think Mutt did. But he just wanted to give it a try. And he had 5 willing volunteers.